Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. And I want to thank Senator Merkley. He's been such a leader on the issue of debt and what's happening there. And we'll hear about that in a minute. But now, a few moments ago, House Republicans plowed ahead on a morally and financially bankrupt plan to gut Medicaid while cutting taxes for billionaires. Republicans did just what their boss told them to do. They closed their eyes and voted for a bill knowing damn well it will explode the deficit by $52 trillion and kick millions off health care. They voted it knowing damn well that American families lose and billionaires win. They voted for it knowing damn well it would gut critical investments for the American people. They voted for it knowing damn well it would mortgage our nation's future to deliver massive giveaways to the wealthiest Americans in the country. Republicans incinerated any credibility that remained about them supposedly being the party of fiscal responsibility. Last week, we sounded the alarm about how the Republican budget resolution was the definition of wasteful spending. $37 trillion, or so we thought, of the national debt. And the other part. I say, or so we thought, because this morning we have discovered it's even worse than we feared. This morning, the Congressional Budget Office, at Jeff's request, released a new projection showing Republicans' billionaire tax giveaways will actually add $52 trillion to the debt, not just 37 plus. It's gotten even worse, even worse. Why? Because Republicans in the Senate didn't just copy and paste the 2017 Trump tax bill. They added over $1 trillion more. This is the Trump's tax scam on steroids. And it's going to bankrupt America, all so they can give these tax breaks to the billionaires. It is just incredible. To repeat, today Republicans are plowing forward on their deeply unpopular agenda, while Elon Musk and Doge dismantle Social Security. Congressional Republicans are slashing Medicaid, all the while cutting taxes for billionaires, adding $52 trillion to the debt. The many individual pieces of the Republican agenda are bad on their own, but when they're put together, they're utterly toxic. The struggles Republicans have faced so far are only a glimmer of what's to come. If they had it hard on the budget resolution, imagine how hard it's going to be on reconciliation, with all their contradictory promises clashing with each other. It's no wonder they're a shambles. It's no wonder that Senate Republicans are fighting with each other, that House Republicans are fighting with each other, and House and Senate Republicans are fighting with each other, because their agenda is so unpopular. Different segments of the party each want to run away from different parts of this agenda, but none of it is popular. It's amazing. They're doing what a small group of billionaires want, against the American people's interest, against what America needs. So today and going forward, the only question that matters is this: are they really going to sign their names to a bill that adds $52 trillion to the debt, slashes Medicaid, all so that billionaires can pay less in taxes? With Donald Trump changing his tariff strategy like it's some kind of game of red light, green light, do Republicans seriously believe now is a good time to saddle our children with debt that they'll never be able to pay off? If Republicans ultimately pass their reconciliation bill, interest rates in the future will soar. America's greatness will diminish, perhaps never recover. It would be a great decline in the American dream. So much for Republicans being the party of fiscal responsibility. That's out the window. And the worst part is that the Republicans can't even be honest with the American people about how expensive their bill is. Republicans continue to pursue budget fraud through this current policy baseline, something the Senate has never used before in reconciliation. In fact, when they tried it back in 2017, it was rejected. They avoided the question last week, but make no mistake about it, they're now full speed ahead on breaking the rules of the Senate and breaking their word to get it done. Why are Republicans doing it? Simple. They want to cut taxes for billionaires and make our kids pay for it. Jeff.
Well, thank you very much, Leader Schumer. When it comes to fiscal responsibility, Republicans have lost their damn minds. Back in 1974, all 100 senators came together to pass the Budget and Impoundment Control Act, and it had 3 pillars. The first is, within a 10-year period, it had to reduce the deficit. The second pillar was that in every year after the first 10 years, it had to be deficit neutral or reduce the deficit. And the third was we were going to have honesty on the numbers by creating the Congressional Budget Office and having impartial, independent, nonpartisan numbers, so we'd have no more smoke and mirrors, no more gimmicks. We'd be honest with ourselves and honest with the American people. 3 pillars. Well, the Republicans struck down the first of those pillars in 1996 when they said, we're going to use this filibuster-free pathway that even Robert Byrd voted for one reason, reduce the deficit, to increase the deficit through tax giveaways to the richest Americans. Now they're poised to strike down the second and third pillars of fiscal responsibility, driving up deficits through reconciliation in years 11 and beyond, making tax cuts permanent, so now CBO has to estimate 30 years out the impact, and abandoning the CBO numbers and saying that the budget chair in the Senate can create any set of fabricated numbers that budget chair wants. This is insane. Last week, we really emphasized the fact that families lose and billionaires win. $2 trillion in cuts to programs like health care and housing and education to fund additional tax giveaways to the richest Americans and additional debt. But I asked for CBO, with the updated bill the Republicans were proposing, to take an updated look at what the debt would be as a factor as well. And now we have the results, as Leader Schumer has pointed out. It isn't $4.6 trillion over 10 years, it's $7 trillion over 10 years. It's not $37 trillion or more over 30 years, it's $52 trillion. Let's keep this in perspective by understanding that the current debt run up by our predecessors over 249 years since the Declaration of Independence is less than $37 trillion right now, about $36.5 trillion. They want to add in a single vote $52 trillion. And that's assuming the conservative interest numbers that CBO is using. Let's consider what happened yesterday. Yesterday there was a little surge of loss of faith in the American economy, and at the same time stocks were being sold off, which normally means people move their money into bonds and interest rates drop. The reverse happened. People fled bonds as well. This certainly panicked the administration and led to the 90-day pause. If that happens in the future and interest rates are 1% higher than CBO is estimating, this isn't $52 trillion, it's now $76 trillion. Republicans are paving the path to debt that will burden our children for a generation to come, hurting normal families. If we take and look at the fact that interest rates under CBO's analysis will go up, that means higher interest families have to pay on their home loans. That means higher interest on their auto loans. It means a shrinking economy, and the share of that shrinking economy will average $4,300 in current today dollars for a family 30 years out. So impoverishing families in the future, cutting the programs families depend upon to thrive, inflicting massive debt on the next generation. No matter how you look at it, the Republicans have lost their mind on fiscal responsibility and on the understanding that we need to strengthen not diminish the foundations for families to thrive.
Questions on this subject? Yes.
So are you guys advocating to let the tax rates expire? And then secondarily, at what point does the parliamentarian question happen? I mean, because you're talking about how this didn't happen this time. At what point do you plan on posing that question to
Look,
the
the bottom
parliamentarian?
line overall, in answer broadly to your question, is if you think they had trouble now on the budget resolution, they're going to have much more trouble on reconciliation. And one of the places they're going to have much more trouble is on the baseline, the current policy baseline, because the parliamentarian has far more say there, because that will have to be part of their budget than it would be here, because they didn't put it in their budget. Yes?
So in relation to some of this meat of the forthcoming bill, Senate Republicans are proposing up to $175 billion in new border security funding. And what are your thoughts on that sort of security investment?
Look, the bottom line is very simple. Their overall budget is awful. And it is huge cuts to Medicaid, to SNAP, to housing, to veterans, up and across the board, even cuts on Social Security when they indirectly hurt it to give tax breaks to billionaires. And so the bottom line is it's a terrible budget, and we're going to fight it tooth and nail, the whole thing. Yes?
So the debt limit does need to be increased probably by August. If they're not able to pass their bill by then, is there a chance for the Republicans to come negotiate a deal with you in return for some things that you want, like extending the health subsidies?
We're not going to engage in hypotheticals. Let's see what they do in this budget. Okay? All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.